Welcome back to the channel. So to continue what we were unveiling yesterday, well, firstly, let's establish the secret weapon is the weakness in the legacy financial system. It's the stable coins. These are the secret weapons that XRP has, that the bank coins have, that is allowing them to weave their way into a system and be needed. Not they might use them. No, they need them. Everything they bring to the table. But I didn't forget. I wanted to give you how many banks the European Central Bank, which Ripple has a tight relationship with. They work with them to a variety of different degrees, even in concepts for years, right? But this is how many banks they supervise, and it's important to know this because that's how many banks they can influence to use certain systems if they're satisfied with those systems. Now, it says here, as of July 2nd, 2025, the ECB directly supervises 114 significant banks. That's important to keep in mind because we want to know overall how many banks. They're saying significant banks. But keep in mind, those significant banks even have influence over others, okay? But let's continue on here. I don't know why. When I press scroll, does this happen to anybody else once in a while? The whole page just flies up like at lightning speed. I just wanted to go very slowly so we can find the information that we need here. It says the ECB also influences a much larger number of less significant institutions indirectly, while these banks are primarily supervised by their national central banks. The ECB sets the overall supervisory framework and ensures consistent application of rules. All of this is going to be done. This consistent application of rules is not going to be manual anymore. It's going to be done by smart contract. It must be done by smart contract, especially now with the advent of stable coins. You have the euro going up. The digital euro is going to go up against the digital dollar, right? Digital dollar, RLUSD, USDC. These are all proxy digital dollars. And I know someone was going to say, well, they are digital dollars. No, I mean, they're not a digital dollar that's put out by the Fed, by the federal government. That's what I mean, as opposed to that. But they're going up against them nonetheless. They're going to need smart contracts and later on, like I said, AI to make sure everything stays smooth, no slippage. The dollar doesn't dominate too much. The euro doesn't dominate too much in other areas. Everyone's going to be checking everyone. You cannot do this manually. You're entering a new age. You need smart contracts. This is why Ripple has been talking about smart contracts. This is why all the companies are going absolutely out of their minds with glee over smart contract platforms like Solana. Now we're hearing a whole lot about Hedera, but we already knew about these companies. We know Hedera works with a bunch of different banks already. We know Chainlink works with a bunch of different banks already. Algorand, same thing. But these smart contract platforms behind the scenes are making, well, not behind the scenes. You can read the articles about them. It's just that they're not widely covered. Why? I don't know. I know I'm super bullish on these things because I know what I'm seeing. These institutions want them. And if they want them, they're going to be flooded with value. It's just as simple as that. You have a void that needs to be filled, and you have something that can easily fill the void. Not only fill the void, but exceed expectations in filling the void. So, I mean, it's a no-brainer in my humble opinion. Now, hold on, wait, because I told you something else yesterday. We covered a lot. That video was very good. I hope you watched it. But there was just too much information for that one video. So now, the second thing I ask myself as a researcher, I say, okay, well, how many banks do they supervise, right? We want to get an update on that. It's always different. Some banks open up, some banks close. This information is always changing, correct? So after they give us the number 114 significant banks, I say to myself, well, what's the names of these banks? Who are these banks? Why is that important? It's important because then you can look up their financials. Once you start looking up their financials, you start crunching those numbers, and I guarantee you're going to like it, baby. I like that. I'm going to keep every once in a while, I'm going to do that. In the 90s, everybody that was cool, they would say something like that. They were cool. You know, they were a movie star or something like that, or they had a lot of money. They would say something like that. It's all good, baby. Like, I'm just saying, I don't know. I find it cool. So anyway, back to the point here, because you play around too much. You start crunching those numbers, I think you're going to like what you see. So here we go. Okay, so 114 banks. As of the last public update, all right, with a cutoff of March 1st, 2025, the ECB directly supervises 114 significant institutions. Here is a list categorized by country as derived from the ECB's official publications. All right. So Austria, we're just going to go over a few of these and so you can get an idea. And if you want to look these up and look into their financials like I've done. Yes, I did. I didn't do all of them, but I did a few of them. This is what I do. Addiko Bank AG, Bawag PSK, Erste Group Bank AG, Hypo Landesbank, Vorarlberg. And if the pronunciation is rough, my apologies. Raiffeisen Bank International AG. All right, so then let's go to Belgium. Argenta Spar Bank NV, AXA Bank Belgium SA, Belfius Bank SA, BNP Paribas. That's no surprise. Where have we heard that name before? Let's move on to Bulgaria. And I'm skipping a lot of banks, obviously. Bulgaria, United Bulgaria Bank, Croatia. Now, once again, folks, this is important to look at these connections. Ripple's connections to the ECB, look them up. Then look at those connections and how they could possibly be used. Then look at what the ECB intends to do. They want to utilize stablecoins, but they don't trust them. They're worried about euro dominance. If you're going to have that, you must have the proliferation of a euro stablecoin to some significant degree, the same way that the euro is, so that people could speak about the euro in the same breath as the US dollar like they were doing for so long. Correct? But if you're going to have that, what system is going to carry there? What system is going to allow other countries to allow that euro proliferation to take place? Because it's going to have to be kept fair across the board. Everyone's going to demand it. And everyone seems to want limitations. China wants limitations. Euro wants limitations. The U.S. is, I don't think the U.S. really cares. You want to be honest? The USA is the wild one in the bunch. They're so confident. They know what they have. They have the best of the best companies. They set everything up. The whole chessboard was arranged by the U.S. In my humble opinion, it was. So I don't think they care. I don't think they believe anybody is going to dominate this wave of U.S. dollar stablecoins that they're about to flood the world with. And they know, just once again, if you look at what the Fed said, let the private sector lead. Does it not seem to you like they're giving the private sector everything they want? Do not let it fool you. Oh, if there's a few banks going against the bank coin companies, as far as, them trying to become banks, and they want to see, they want to a little bit longer of a review period. That's a smokescreen. That's a smokescreen to distract the people, to try to dishearten the people. I mean, just look at it from every possible standpoint. Look at the positives, look at the negative possibilities. I'm sure you've already done that. If not, please do that. And you will see it's a smokescreen. They've been giving the private sector everything they want. Here's a gift. Here's a gift. Here's a gift. You get to run wild, and you get to run wild. Right? They're like those show hosts that used to give out gifts. You get one, and you get one. They've been giving the private sector everything they want. Why? They're buttering them up. You ever heard that? Right? Somebody wants something from you. They come all of a sudden, they come around you. They start treating you real nice. Where's this niceness coming from? Now they want something. They're buttering you up. That's what they're doing to the private sector. Oh, they treated you so hard. They treated you so hard. How do you do that? You remember people used to make that sound like, oh, no. They treated you so hard, so rough. Let me help you out. You better be careful when people start doing that. They want something out of you. That's manipulation. That's what they've been doing. So they're making it good for them, easy for them, so that now the private sector feels like they have this dominant hold in the U.S., which they are. They're going to take over. In my humble opinion, they're in everyone's pocket, and they're getting deeper in their pockets. You think that the governing system and the politicians and the companies are not going to back them when they're deep in their pockets, when they're deep in their lives? They want a different type of lifestyle. They can't get it without this flood of capital. This is not about retail anymore. They want those prices to explode for them. So now they've buttered up the companies. Those companies are going to run wild. They're going to dominate in every possible way that they can. They're being unleashed. And they're doing so much. This is before governmental connections and contracts. When they will really go bonkers when that happens. Military contracts, etc. We already read a document about military use of DLT technology. We'll cover that again at some point. Croatia, Zagrebačka Banka DD Bank, right? Cyprus, I mangled that. Bank of Cyprus, Hellenic Bank Public Company. So I'm just giving you some examples. There's a lot, and there's a lot of banks they influence. Now, this takes us back to what we used to talk about a long time ago. Look at all of these central banks. Ripple said they're working with central banks. Ones they haven't, they're working with a lot of them. That's what they said. Go read the article and look at what they said. This is about 3 months ago. Everybody was covering it. They said ones they did not name. There's a lot they didn't name. Who are they? Because it matters to the degree that they're supervisory entities. To get those names is not just about the value moving through those central banks or that they produce, manifest, whatever. It's about who they're supervisory entities over. Who are they going to influence to use these systems? Everything that touches the XRPL has an impact on XRP's price. So this matters. Big time. We're in the big leagues now. Big leagues. Let's go here, okay? All right, look at this. I have another article for you. Big stuff happening. So we were just hearing about Ripple activities this year in Dubai. We're hearing about Ripple activities in UAE. All over the MENA region, we're getting Ripple activities, XRPL activities, but we already knew that. We heard about the different things they're doing with Attajari Wafa again. I told you, when these banks are satisfied with something, they circle back around and say, hey, let's go all the way now. The world is ready. Bank coins being unleashed. Let's go all the way now. And that's what's happening. But this article here is titled Rock Bank becomes the first UAE bank to offer crypto trading for retail. Mark my words, the bank coins that have been deep in the MENA region, where all this is taking place. You have Ripple deep there. You have Ripple, I believe Hedera is deep there. Look all of this up. I'm remembering from research that we've done here on the channel over the years. But you can always do a quick search. Ripple is deep in the MENA region. I believe Hedera is deep in the MENA region. At one time, Zenfin had a lot going on there. I'm not sure what the update is. I haven't heard of what they're doing, an update on that in quite some time. I believe theirs was more from a regulatory standpoint, but, look into that. And there was one more. I can't remember who it is. Somebody else had some motion going on in the MENA region. But as far as Ripple is concerned, how deep they are with QNB Bank, Attajari Wafa Bank, all this other stuff. They got the real estate offering that they're building on the XRPL. I think they're going to take a huge swath of value out of here, be able to move a huge swath of value that definitely could impact that XRP price. But it continues here. It says Rock Bank became the first traditional bank in the UAE to enable crypto trading for retail users through its mobile app powered by Bitpanda. It continues. The National Bank of Ras Al Khaimah, Rock Bank, a government-owned bank in the United Arab Emirates, is the first conventional bank in the country to offer retail crypto trading. In a Tuesday news release, the bank announced the launch of a crypto brokerage service through its mobile banking app, allowing customers to buy, sell, swap cryptocurrencies directly from their UAE dirham accounts. Quote, we recognize the opportunity this solution will provide to customers in the UAE, as we believe they deserve a more efficient and seamless crypto buying, selling, and swapping journey that is fully regulated and entirely AED, said Rahil Ahmed, Group CEO of Rock Bank. They have let it be known that the MENA region, a lot of actors there, want to become the hub for crypto, and they're serious about it. So let's do this here. Ripple's connections in the UAE, right? Let's just say list Ripple's connections. Why not? We're going to do that real quick because I want to get a more acute look at what we're dealing with in that specific area, because it's going to they're moving massive value over there, folks. and they're moving massive value. And I think real world asset, there you go. Real world asset tokenization in these regions is going to be massive. There's a lot of oil money there. There's a lot of commodities there. So here's a summary of Ripple's key connections and partnerships in the UAE. So Zand Bank, number one here. UAE's first all digital bank. Partnering with Ripple to enable blockchain-based cross-border payments. Mamo. This is a fintech platform using Ripple's payments to simplify global transactions for UAE businesses and consumers. Dubai Financial Services Authority granted Ripple a regulatory license in March 2025, allowing it to offer crypto-enabled payment services in the Dubai International Financial Center. You have approval from the DFSA, greenlit Ripple's US dollar peg stablecoin for payments, treasury, and real estate tokenization projects. We just heard about that, right? For its real estate. Folks, I believe what we're going to see over the next 2 years is rapid development. We're already seeing that. Now, while it's more diversified now, it's going to narrow much more over the years because the more advanced chains are going to continue to take over. You're going to see a lot of these things, these seeds that they planted begin to grow. I think that's what's going to be most potent. Now, let's go here. We have some more XRP news. This article is titled, XRP News Today, Key Report and SEC Vote Set Stage for XRP Volatility Surge. Bitcoin dips pre-Fed. All right, so let's find out what's going on here. XRP investors are in for a bumpy 48 hours as two key events could fuel volatility. On Wednesday, July 30th, the Presidential Working Group on Digital Asset Markets will release its first report potentially, it doesn't mean it's a guarantee, right? Potentially supporting XRP as a U.S. strategic reserve asset. Would that be bullish? Absolutely, sure. But let's say that doesn't happen. XRP remains super bullish, whether it happens or not. There's just too many huge catalysts. Speaking of catalysts, I need to find a title for this video today. It's been super difficult coming up with titles. I'll tell you that much for these videos. It says XRP and ones that are accurate. It says XRP, but are not repetitious, right? XRP could soar to record highs if the U.S. government acquires XRP as part of a national crypto stockpile. And this is why some of the other countries were looking into this early on. A lot of companies are trying to develop XRP stockpiles, just like Solana digital stockpiles, because they know once the U.S. says something, many others will jump in once the U.S. does it. And yes, that price can skyrocket 100%. Sure. But the volatility, if it does happen, that volatility would be there. I don't expect it to stay high for very long, as many people are going to take profit. And that price, as fast as it went up, it probably would come down a little bit quickly. It will go back up once again. But once again, there will be that volatility. People are going to take profit quickly. It says here, U.S. government, they know that this is not, even with an explosion from something like this, if it took place, it's not the explosion everybody's looking for. It's a good explosion. People are going to make a ton of value off of that if this does occur. Not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. But it's not the explosion. It's not interbank payments explosion, payroll explosion, RWA explosion. It's not that. It's not B2B cross-border payment or payments of all kinds explosion. That is going to be astronomical, but it will be an explosion, right? Everything happens in degrees, as they say. So it continues. It says U.S. government purchases of XRP to build a stockpile will likely tilt the supply-demand balance firmly in XRP's favor, triggering a price breakout. On Thursday, July 31st, the SEC will hold its weekly closed meeting and potentially vote to withdraw its appeal in the Ripple case. A vote in favor of dropping the appeal would end the case and potentially expedite the approval of XRP spot ETFs. A U.S. government XRP stockpile and institutional demand through XRP spot ETFs will likely send the token to unprecedented heights. However, silence on XRP becoming a strategic reserve asset and a further delay to the SEC vote could weigh on sentiment. All right, so we shall see what happens. Everything's looking good for XRP. No matter what happens in the next few days, it remains super bullish in my humble opinion. The bank coins overall I stand by that. They look bullish overall, in my humble opinion. All right, so now let's go here. A little bit of Bitcoin news. This article is titled "Smart Contracts and Staking Arrive on Bitcoin's Base Layer." Let me just scroll down. Built on ordinals, this protocol supports DeFi applications and cross-chain functionality on Bitcoin without relying on custodial bridges or wrapped tokens. Let me scroll past the giant picture. It says from a cypherpunk idea to $1 trillion asset class, Bitcoin, which is showing red at $116,969, has grown dramatically since its Genesis block. Still barely a teenager as an asset. I like how they put that. So it's still in its nascent phase, like we said. So you're getting that, you're hearing that from all angles because I believe it's true. But let's scroll down. I just want to hear about what they're doing. Bringing full DeFi stack to Bitcoin. Building, so I'm skipping a lot. Make sure you check this article out. They've been doing a good job over here on Cointelegraph.com. Building on this foundation as TAP protocol, an ordinals-based solution that aims to deliver a complete DeFi toolkit while settling every transaction on Bitcoin's native layer. Its L1 co-processing feature enables developers to leverage smart contracts from other layer ones to co-process transactions on Bitcoin. With TAP, decentralized swaps, automated market makers, and staking all run natively. No custodial bridges or wrapped tokens required. The protocol's native bridge also connects Bitcoin to ecosystems such as XRP, Arbitrum, Solana, and Internet Computer Protocol, widening liquidity without compromising security. All right, so that sounds good in my humble opinion. We're going to move on here to we'll close out with a little bit of gold news, just a little bit. So let's go here and scroll down. Now, this article is titled "Gold Price Up Just a Bit Ahead of Big U.S. Data Day." Gold prices are slightly higher and silver prices weaker in early U.S. trading on Wednesday. The precious metals traders are awaiting important U.S. economic data that is released today. December gold was last up $3.30 at $3,384.30. September silver prices were last down 23 cents at $38.06. A big slate of U.S. economic data, I beg your pardon, a big slate of U.S. economic data at midweek is highlighted by the conclusion of the Federal Reserve's Open Market Committee. The meeting that began Tuesday morning and ends this afternoon with a statement and press conference from Fed Chairman Jerome Powell. The Fed is widely expected to leave its benchmark Fed funds rate range unchanged this week. However, many market watchers think Powell might indicate at this meeting that the Fed could lean easier on the Fed's monetary policy intentions this fall. Also on tap today is the advanced estimate for second quarter U.S. gross domestic product. GDP in the second quarter is seen coming in at 2.3% year on year. On Friday comes the all-important U.S. employment report from the Labor Department. I can't wait to see that. I just want to behold whether it's going to corroborate what I'm seeing coming out from regular people's reports. And they have been reporting what's going on in the job market, their experience all over the place. So it could get interesting quickly, folks. We shall see. A lot of these jobs reports, as you've heard me say in the past, and I think as they've exposed themselves, they have to, redo the numbers. Oftentimes, the numbers look like they're highly manipulated, but we shall see. It continues. Asian and European stocks were mixed overnight. U.S. stock indexes are pointed to slightly higher openings today in New York. In overnight news, then they go into a little bit of other things that have nothing to do. Well, I won't say they have nothing to do, but it's controversial. It's controversial news I won't be covering here. I'll just leave it at that. All right, folks. So now that you have that information, what are you going to do with it? I know what I'm going to do with it. So until next time, everybody, let's get to the money.